Alright guys, today we're going to be doing drum brakes. You can look at these pads, they're not too bad. They're actually pretty good life. But since I got the rear drums turned, I'm going to be putting a new, let's see here, I'm trying to hold my light and all that stuff. I'm going to be putting a new sleeve in there and taking off these springs and replacing springs. I got a spring kit. So I'm going to go through and redo the rear drum brakes on this, clean it up some. You could paint the inside if you wanted to. I actually ran out of black, so I can't paint them right now. So what I'm gonna probably do is not paint the inside. I might paint the outside once I put the drums and stuff on there down the line. Again, this is a driver car. If this was a show car, I'd be doing it differently. The other thing I'm probably gonna do is when I get more paint, I'm gonna go through and just wire brush the springs and clean off the dirt. See how this looks in here. Clean up the frame and just get the surface off it, because it's just all surface. Let's see here. It's all surface, you know, and just clean up the surface on that and hit it with some black to make it look nice. Probably also do some of the rear axle with a wire brush and clean that up, and probably pull the rear diff cover off at some point and change the fluid in that, but that's going to be something I'll show you guys down the line when I do that. The other thing I am going to do is I'm going to replace this flex line back in here, just because it's old. I don't know, I don't want any issues with it. Flex lines sometimes come apart. So alright guys, well, before I get started on this, I'm going to set my light up, get that all set up, and get the camera ready, and I'll do a rundown through what tools you'll probably need, just so you can try to have them laid out so you don't have to get up and sit back down, get up and sit back down. And the other thing I would suggest too, before getting started, is to go through and take some pictures. Okay, take some pictures of your drum setup, how everything is, so that way you have something to reference. A picture is free on the cell phone. Doesn't cost anything, so take as many as you want so you can put it back together correctly. The other thing to do is do one side at a time. Take this one side apart, put it back together. The nice thing with doing that is then you have a mirror image on the other side if you can't figure out how a spring goes or how something goes back together. So generally speaking, both left and right are the same. They're just kind of mirrored sometimes, with some of the, like the parking brake arm here will be on the back side on that side instead of on the, it won't be on the front side. So, but I wonder if somebody changed my studs. I just realized that they have a S stamped in them. Usually studs with an S are by Strange, I think, S-T-R-A-N-G-E or whatever it is. Maybe somebody changed them. Maybe they came that way from factory. I don't honestly know. I don't know the full history of this car, so I don't know what's been done to it, what hasn't been done to it. I still got some wax on it, just realized that. Missed them when I was wiping it off. Alright guys, well, let me get everything set up so then I can show you guys how to take this apart. Okay guys, I got my light set up finally. What ended up happening with my light was it didn't agree with me, it didn't want to clip. It was one of these nice clippy lights, and well, the clip didn't want to clip. So, it kind of went away. The clip went away. But nothing a little bit of masking tape won't fix. So, the next thing I'm probably going to do is I'm going to find a big magnet and try to see if I can put a magnet on there. So that way I can put the magnet up in the wheel well next time. But for now, it's going to work. I got some light on it so I can see. So, let's go back to what tools you need. You need, of course, light. If you're going to be filming it, you need a tripod. But that's not what most people need. This is what most people are going to need, is this stuff here. Okay. You're going to need your brake spoon. Okay. That's going to be for adjusting it when you put the drum back on. So that way, when you adjust it, let's try to see here. There's going to be there's a hole on the back side. I'm trying to think here if I can really show it to you. I'll show it to you guys later. Basically, you're going to put it in, put the brake spoon in, and you're going to work. Let me see here. Hold on. All right, turn the light on the camera. So with the brake spoon, you adjust this guy here. There's a hole And let me see here if I can figure out how to lean here to get in there and show you guys. There's generally a hole in the backside of the drum. Well, I guess this guy doesn't have it. Most drums have it, so that's why there's a hole in the front side of the drum on the car. So you're going to go through the front side of the drum, and you're going to adjust it that way, which I'll show when I have the drum on, because these drums had a hole in the front side. I didn't know why, because there's no hole in the back side. I'm used to other cars you can work on it from the back side. But anyway, back to tools. You need your brake spoon. You're going to need your spring tool, your drum spring tool. No, my name's not Tom. It's just a used tool I bought at a yard sale. So, that way I have a couple. That's the only one I can find. But you got your one hook for grabbing springs. You got your other hook for putting springs on. And you got your one hook for taking springs off. Now, you can go buy like a cheap set of Autocraft ones of these, which work great for that, for taking that off. I have another one that I picked up. It's a snap-on. It's got a little bit deeper of a mouth in it with some serrations on it, so that way it holds it better. And I do have another spring tool from Snap-on. I've never used this one, so I don't really know how to use it. We'll see what we can figure out. So I know it can go on there and it hooks the spring somehow. I don't know. I'll figure that out. I never used this guy. Something I picked up cheap because it was cheap. And I know I didn't buy it from the Snap-on truck. That'd be too much. It'd probably be like, $50 for it. Not worth it to me. I'm more happy with one of these for the most part. Alright guys, so that's about the gist of the tools. You will need some sockets if you're changing your wheel slave. So this is what I'm talking about, wheel slave, this guy. So, because I'm putting new ones in. I got a feeling the old ones, I won't be able to get the bleeder valve loose to bleed the brakes. So I'm going to put a new one of them in there on each side when I do it. So I got 2 of them. The other thing to think about is if, rear axle hose, and then buying a spring kit for your rear drums. So that way you have all new springs, adjusters, everything. So I'll show you guys what's in that when I get to that point. So, alright, so now I got everything set up. I laid my parts out over here on the side. You can kind of see them over there. First things that I like to do is I already took some pictures, so I'll post them up on this thing. Is I'll take this guy here and I'll just start pulling springs off. You can put that on there. What you do is you see this little hook, put that in the open part of the spring, and make sure you're going on the spring that's on the top side. So you can take this, you put it on there, you get it caught on the spring. Oops, I don't knock my camera over. And then you get it hooked on there, and you can pop the spring off. Now, what I like to do is I like to try to keep my springs on whatever side they are, so that's there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a spot on my floor, and I'm going to try to lay out all my springs on how they came off on the floor. So that way when I got to put them back on, I can look and say this spring was on the forward side, this spring was on the back side. Just try to make it easier for reassembly. Now you can see how the spring's rusty. That's why I like to change them and buy a spring kit. Sometimes you can't do that, I understand that, but I think it's better off to do that and put all new springs in it if you can. What you're gonna have to do now is with this spring here, see how it's a hook? It's hooked on the parking brake adjuster. So you're gonna have to take it and hook this other spring if you can, and try to get it pulled back, which sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. It can be a pain, and this isn't my best tool. I got ones that work a little bit better than this one. So you just try to hook it on there and get it off, which sometimes you can hook on there good, sometimes you can't. What I might be able to do is maybe put this one there like that, maybe rotate it, which I don't know if I can, and Maybe get it off that way. Might be a little bit easier to pop it. Just make sure you cover your eyes, have safety glasses on while doing this. Springs flying into your eye would be a very bad thing. There we go. They have a lot of tension on them. So make sure you have safety glasses on, by the way. There's something to cover your eyes. So now that's off. That comes off of that for the brake adjustment. And you can unhook your spring. I'll set that over there. Take that spring off. And I'll set that hooked on there so I can see. So now you got that off. Now this here should pop off. That's what it should do. Doesn't always want to do that. Just stuck. So that way you can put that up there. See how this all is? When I get it apart, I'm going to wire wheel this part up in here just to get the rust off it. I'm going to wire wheel this just to make it clean so it works right. So now you can probably grab that little spring on the bottom side down here. That's on the parking brake piece and pop that off. Let me try to reposition this camera some maybe. So that way you guys can see the underneath maybe. There we go. You guys can kind of see what I'm working on down there with the parking brake. So now we're going to work on getting this stuff off down here. Okay, it's all full of cobwebs and stuff. This is all the parking brake stuff here. So we'll just set that off to the side. That goes on a little arm that's there. You guys see that right there? And that goes up and hooks onto it. So we'll set that off to the side there. That's what this little spring was that I pulled off. Goes on there to keep pressure on it. It's part of the, I think actually a self-adjuster for it. So that's what that's for. That's part of the self-adjuster for the brake. So we don't have too many springs left. We got the one spring down here that goes shoe to shoe, and this adjuster here. This adjuster seems to be stuck. It's got a lot of tension on it. What might work better sometimes to do is to take, you can take your spring tool, take that, push that, pop them off. Let me set that up there because I need two hands. So you can take this, you gotta put that on there and rotate it, pop that off. And see how that comes apart is a little cap. So little cap there. This goes through the backing plate into there, through there, and it rotates. Oops, I'm sorry. Let's try that again. This goes through there, through the spring, through the backing plate, through the pad, goes in the one way, and then you rotate it, and it locks. You push it in, rotate it, and it can slide off. Now, when you take this off, make sure to set, with your stuff, whatever side the stuff came on, because sometimes these pins are different lengths. Sometimes the new brake kit has different length pins in it. But by doing that, it allows you to get some of this other stuff off like so. So now you can pull this piece off here. Make sure to note which side the spring was on. And it may allow you to get this plate off like so. And as you can see, everything just kind of falls out once you get that loose. So you can set that out there, set that there. Now it's free. So now all I gotta do is take off this other shoe on this back side, and I'm gonna do the same thing there. where I just put this on there and pushed it, popped it. So take this off, set that there. Take your stuff there. So now, as you can see, you got your parking brake assemblies, how they all go in there. So you want to look at that and keep an eye on that, and keep an eye on how this arm for the self-adjuster goes. So what I like to do is, let me set this down here, is I'll leave this on there until I'm ready to put it back together. I'll pull the spring off and slide the cable off if I can, like that. You just kind of got to rotate it around, and what I'll do is I'll show you guys how it works. The cable goes in there and the spring holds it up against there with the big nut, and it's got a slot cut in it there. So you just got to push it down and slide it out of that slot. So that's how you get this all apart. And then you take your other pin out, and you're good. So that's how you get your drum brakes apart on the back. That's just getting it apart. So you got these up here still. So let me pull that out. There we go. It's shaped like that. It goes into your sleeve. And what happens when you press the brakes, they push out like that, which when it pushes out, it pushes each pad out up against the drum. So I'm going to pull them out, set them over here. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I didn't grab any wrenches. I'm going to grab some wrenches, take my brake line off of the sleeve, and I'm going to go through and get my two nuts off. Sometimes what you got to do with the brake lines is if a wrench doesn't work, you got to use a pair of pliers or replace the brake line. Sometimes these lines, they get really rusty and you can't get them loose. So I'm going to see what I can do. Worst case scenarios, you just buy a new set of lines for the rear axle. They're not much, usually 20 bucks, 30 bucks offline. You can buy a new set of pre-bent lines for the rear axle. So might be what I might do. I don't know. I don't look too bad on this thing. But I'm going to see if I can get the line loose, and if I destroy the line, I'll buy a new set of lines and have them in a couple days. So, and then I'll put them on. And, I sit back and I think about it. I still might do that anyway. I got to wait and see. But, alright, let me go. I'm going to turn the camera off for a few minutes. I'm going to grab my wire brush so I can knock off the dirt on this. And I'm going to grab the wrench that I need to get this line off. And then I'll go from there. Alright, I got this off. Well, I'll show you guys. It was easier for me to take it off. You got your brake line, and you got two bolts. You take the brake line off first to make it easier. Then you can take your bolts out. And that goes in there like that. And you pop that out. Then you can put a new one in there. I managed to break my brake line. So then I started pulling the flex line. I wanted to replace that. And I broke the other brake line. So I'm going to replace the lines on the axle. Let me see, the lines on the axle. So put new lines on there. I got the line loosened where this connects up to. I got that off. So then I can pop this out. I just didn't get the clip off yet. So that way I can replace that. So I know I need to get some lines. You can do one of two things. You can either go to the auto parts store, buy a line about yay length, bend it in there, make it fit, or you can buy pre-made brake lines for the rear axle for this thing. So I'm going to see what I can do. I'm going to look that up later. It's Thanksgiving, so I can't go to the auto parts store and buy the lines. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some of my wire brush. I'm going to go through and just wire brush this, knock off the loose dirt. Just go through and just kind of do a quickie clean on this. So it's not something that people really see. The only spot I'm going to probably really do a good clean on is this up here and this here. And I'm going to actually probably paint my axle flange with some of this because I have some left. So, just to make it look better. So, let me, I'm gonna go ahead and just wire brush this so you guys don't need to watch. You could check your parking brake cable while you're at it here if you want to, you know, maybe replace it or not. That's up to you guys on what you want to do. My cable seems to be stiff. So maybe I will order some parking brake cables. I'll look them up before I put everything back together so I don't have to take it back apart. Okay guys, as you can see, what I did is I wire brushed this and I just hit it with some of this engine enamel there just to make the center hub look good when I put the disc back on. I also went through a wire brush that. I just hit that real quick because stuff pivots on that and I want that to be able to move. So now we can start reassembling. If you want, you can go through, you can clean all these up, paint it all nice, neat, let it dry, have it be nice and, you know, awesome looking. For me, it's going to be inside the brake drum. I'm not too worried about it. I'm not restoring this car right now. I'm trying just to make it a running and driving car so I can enjoy it some. So, I'm not going to go through and clean everything. I'm going to probably go through and do these later on with a wire brush and clean that up and make it look better. And I'm also going to probably do that side and maybe some of the stuff up in there and hit it with that black like I did on the front to make the wheel wells look good. And I'll probably clean this up and just hit this with some black too. So that way I can make it all look nice and spiffy, I guess is the best way to say it. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through and reassemble this. And I'm going to set my camera up and I'll start showing you guys reassembling. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this cap in this for now because I got to get a line for the rear axle because I broke it, which happens. The point blank, it happens with old rusty lines. So since I'm redoing all the brakes, I'm going to put a new line on the rear axle. I'm also going to put the new flex line in. I was able to get the brake line broke loose at the flex line, so that's a good thing. So anyway, back to with what I'm saying here with all this stuff. Trying to think about what else to say to you guys. Nothing I could think of right now. I will show you guys as I'm working, and we can go from there. Okay, so now I got that more or less set up where you guys can see everything. First thing that you're going to do is you're going to take your wheel slave cylinder and shove it back in this hole and get that kind of situated there. Okay, and then you're going to take your two bolts and you're going to put your two bolts back on. Guys, sorry if I'm blocking the view. It's kind of one of them things you gotta kind of get everything just kind of shoved in there. So you're going to take your ratchet, once you get the bolts in, you're going to tighten up your bolts. So if I have the right socket on it. I was doing stuff earlier with different stuff. That's not going in there even. That's what happens sometimes. Sometimes you gotta look at it, make sure it's going in there right, and this one's not. I don't know why. Just try to see if I can pop it in there, but it doesn't want to go in there and sit right. I'll loosen up my bolts again and try to get it situated. don't know why it doesn't want to sit right. So I'll show you guys what I'm looking at. You guys look at it, you can see how it's not sitting flush. It's supposed to sit flush in there. I'm not sure why. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my bolts back out, see if I can push it in there. Maybe I got to get the bottom in there first. I don't know. It almost seems like it's rubbing. I'll show you guys, you can see. Looks like it's rubbing there, and it's rubbing there. And you know what's great about that? AC Delco. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this back out. I hate to do it, but I think that's what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to take this back out here, and you can see on the top side of this where it's barely rubbing each corner. The casting must be a little bit big. So what I'm going to do is, you can see where it's rubbing a little bit on the sides too. I'm going to take my wire brush and go in here. Let's see, I got a smaller one. Just to make sure that the lip is clean. I mean, it should be. I don't know why it wouldn't be. Wire brush everything again. And just try to see if maybe if I wire brush it, if it'll fit better. It'll go in there. It's still binding up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this off for a minute, but I'm going to go get my file, and I'm just going to hit that edge and that edge with a handheld file. I'll show you guys. So I'm back. Now I got this, got my file, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to file it. Maybe there's just, let me hold that up there so you guys can see. There might be maybe just a casting burr on the edge of this, or the casting's just a skosh too big. You know, I'd rather file this piece because these are cheap, instead of trying to file this up in there, because I don't feel like trying to find another backing plate. Put a backing plate on, you got to pull the axle out to put the backing plate on. So I'd rather file the $10, $15 part instead of filing the other part that's going to be fun to change. And it might just take a little bit of filing. Maybe their castings aren't to spec anymore, who knows. But a little bit of filing on that shouldn't hurt it. So you can see difference there. And that might be all what it takes. You can use a more aggressive file. I just reached in my toolbox drawer and grabbed whatever file I had on top. And so it's not a big deal. Just file a little bit off and see, it should fit better maybe. Hold it down here so I can. Okay. Now let's see if it fits better. Oh yeah, there we go. That dropped right in there. That fits nice now. Now you can see how tight it is right there. I mean, it's a very tight fit. And you can see that that is now smooth. It's flush up against it. So that's how it's excuse me, my throat's dry. That's how it's supposed to be. I'll be right back. I'm going to put this on hold for a minute, and I'll show you guys tightening it up. I'm going to go get a drink.